because I have a certain type of mindset where I don't tolerate fuckery from women, and they accept that and they respect it and they get in line. That's just how it is. Okay. There's no negotiation with girls.
I think about getting married, and then I think about women are so ridiculous. The idea of entertaining a woman, it just sounds like a fate worse than death.
The root cause of all of the world's problems is basically that there's not enough men who walk around their houses with swords.
It becomes an upsell for a rubbish subscription to an online university or some crypto scam or an FX trading platform.
Today's episode is on the Manosphere, how it came about, how it grew to what it is today. It was inspired by Louis Theroux's documentary, which I think is more of a character study of the faces of the Manosphere. It was missing its biggest face, its biggest hill, really.
Top G, or you can also call me Trigger Dawn. It's another name I just developed.
In Andrew Tate. But however, he did a great job. But there are things I think that could have been explored further, could have been gone into more depth, and perhaps just missed out for a number of reasons, maybe just time. And I thought maybe I could do a better job of analyzing this once fringe niche thing that has become mainstream, unavoidable, a topic that has incepted every aspect of our lives, whether that is social media, TV, and movies. So let's explore and see how the hell did we just get here. Okay, so before we get into that, please do me one massive favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. In order for this channel to grow, it's going to need your support. It's going to need your shares and clicks. So if you enjoy it, share it, or clip it if you need. Put into the comments what you like, put into the comments what you dislike, and engage. Hit the notification bell for me too. However, without further ado, let's please get into the episode.
That's so important for people to hear, though. Yeah, that they are you, but that they can be someone like you too if they put in the kind of time and effort that you put in. That's the real message. The real message is we all started from nowhere. I mean, we all had bullshit jobs. We all felt like losers, but through time and effort, you build a stronger human. You build a stronger body. You build a stronger mind. You build accomplishments and will and momentum, and then you look back and you go, hey man, I'm not washing tables anymore.
It's important to understand this, that the Manosphere started off as really just bro culture, self-help bro culture. It was popularized through things like the JRE, Joe Rogan Experience, and Diary of the CEO that offered a lot of tangible help for men that were maybe going through difficulties or were looking for steps to evolve and take their life to the next step forward. It was, when you look at the Joe Rogan podcast, something that was a mixture of bro culture mixed with curiosity. Joe did a fantastic job often of bringing different sorts of guests in, analyzing their ideas, their thoughts, and even their fringe opinions. Some of it was BS, honestly.
I came here and I proved they're keeping babies alive and taking their organs.
How did you prove that?
They're admitting.
Jamie pulled some shit up on Google.
No, they admitted now.
That's
they're
you too.
They're normalizing it. No, the governor. Listen to me.
But Joe, besides his obsession with monkeys and bears, did a really good job of analyzing and having these discussions, and it would range from fitness advice, financial advice, gym advice, martial arts, to conspiracy theories. It was a sort of safe space for men to discuss manly stuff. Diary of the CEO was a little bit less bro culture, more, you know, bro culture meets West End, sort of Wall Street sort of vibe. They also had one massive glaring weakness, which was they often, especially Joe, let his guests go unchecked. Diary CEO Stephen Barnett also did something very similar. He let his guests go unchecked. I think Stephen's problem was more his framing of the questions. It always had a sort of undercurrent of an agenda.
Women, I think, don't need men as much as they used to. And I think this is in part because of this whole sexual revolution and the pill and the feminism and all these things, which has tremendous upsides. I think that women and men are having less sex, they're getting married less, men's attitude towards women has become a little bit more resentful in certain pockets of the internet.
While Joe, I think, was a lot more innocent, but was even criticized way back then for his allowance of allowing guests to go so unchecked without really sometimes giving them tangible or substantial feedback or cross-references.
Joe used to have such an appeal because he was just a curious dude who wanted to know more about the world. And what you'll remember is that's what Theo Von's podcast is now, and it is 10 times better than Joe Rogan's podcast. But now Joe Rogan is just a dude who wants his own political beliefs validated and will believe anything anybody ever tells him. Joe says it's stupid for Trump to beef with Canada. Oh wait, he talked to Trump, and now he says he would rather go to Russia than Canada.
I don't go to Canada anymore. I don't. No, nor should you. No, discipline. Yeah, I'd rather go to Russia. Yeah.
The stools of Canada collectively breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe he's getting old, maybe he's just surrounded by yes men, and maybe it's because of that whole hit piece that the media did on him during COVID, which even I can say was total bullshit. Joe's podcast isn't bad now because he's an alt-right anti-vax Nazi who murders people for fun. It's bad because it's fucking boring. Joe has become a shell of his former self.
However, you gotta understand, Joe's episodes are so long. He talks for such a long time that I think sometimes he just zoned out and just, honest to God, I think that was Joe's issue. Diary of the CEO, again, like I said, it was framing. However, this space was its originality. The space itself before was not politicized at all. It was just self-help for men and even women as well, but it was just mainly self-help. However, when did it get politicized? When did even the Joe Rogan podcast, even the Diary of the CEO podcast that just come under scrutiny today or of recent, when did that become a political term? When did it become so closely associated with the Manosphere or red pill?
Brought to you by the fucking morons at the Democratic Party.
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable. Remember that guy who used to host The Apprentice? I dreamed we elected him president.
Like, just think about who we were in bed with, like Saudi Arabia, selling all of our uranium to Russia. Like Trump came in and was like, no.
Woke up from a coma? Well, you might want to go back.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside in the beautiful streets and pick a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent.
And be able to compose the following satirical witticism. Go f yourself.
And I'll tell you this right now, we are in total fucking war.
I start in 2016, the Trump election, but really you could go to the Obama administration and the overuse of identity politics. Trump was a symptom of that. Trump came in where people felt like they couldn't say anything, and he said extreme things, foolish things, things that were inaccurate.
Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich.
People often just liked his moxie, the fact that he would be the person to say and call out things that seemingly were just obvious at the time. It's important to also mention this, that Trump was going against Hillary Clinton, who seemed like the next step of identity politics. She was a woman. Some people voted for Trump because of sexism. It's just a fact. You cannot avoid that. It is a part of the discussion. However, the fact that people who didn't vote for Hillary were labeled sexist was a mischaracterization of the debate, mischaracterization of what actually Trump appeal was, and it was a clear pushback against wokeism, identity politics that had failed them. They had lived through an economic crisis and wars and further wealth inequality, and they felt like identity politics, Democrats were the face of that. Trump was seeming to be the antidote of that. And the fact that these conversations weren't allowed to have in prevalence in the mainstream media without you looking as if you're a racist, homophobic bigot caused tensions, and it was the start of the culture war, really. Many faces like Jordan Peterson did well to popularize these ideas, bring these ideas to the forefront of men specifically being downtrodden, men being attacked.
And you might say, well, of course, you know, that underestimates the degree to which there's systemic oppression, et cetera, and the vagaries of fate. It's like it doesn't underestimate it. It's not the point. The point is your best strategic position is how am I insufficient and how can I rectify that? That's what you've got. And the thing is, you are insufficient and you could rectify it. Both of those are within your grasp. If you aim low enough.
You've got to remember, this is at the back of the Harvey Weinstein scandal, R. Kelly scandal, where people and men are being called out more. Masculine and misogynistic culture and the patriarchy was called out even more. Media brought feminism into the forefront of debates, and change, identity politics, DEI or EDI was brought into the workspace in even more prevalence. Identity was something that was supposed to be shown throughout TV and media even more than ever before. When people like Jordan Peterson come onto the stage and discuss, well, not stage, but the platforms like Joe Rogan podcast, hence why Joe Rogan's podcast has become so polarizing and seen as far right friendly. Jordan Peterson did a good job of articulating himself with some truths, some half-truths, and a lot of BS, if I'm honest, a lot of just opinions of his own.
In this sort of Jungian archetypal world, chaos is feminine, order is masculine, and the subtitle of your book is an antidote to chaos. So as a woman reading that, I'd like for you to explain to me, maybe, what I'm missing there, because that's when you started to lose me a little bit as a reader.
Well, there has to be an antidote to anything that's manifesting itself in excess. It's chaos that's manifesting itself in excess at the moment.
However, he articulated himself well, better than Donald Trump, and he started to bring together this manosphere, this toxic culture of men being sort of downtrodden, let down by society, and let down specifically by wokeism. Some of that is true. Some of it has a lot of nuance to it. However, it was still fragmented at this point. It was still scattered. And on the eve or on the back of COVID-19, economic inequality, a messiah, as I mentioned before, came in to unify all these different spaces.
The Matrix is trying to control your mind. They're very good at it. That's what they do to control all of us. You have to break the trap. If you cannot control your own mind, then you are just a feather in the wind of life. Top G, or you can also call me Trigger Dawn. On here talking about my producing's bad. You ain't never thrown your debit card at a bitch and bought a $17,000 coat because you were drunk and bored. Ever. You ain't ever wore it. Fucked her. You ain't ever split up with her and fucked her friend. You don't know about me. I'm that guy.
Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate. He was the unifier of the manosphere. He brought together different fragments of it. When you think of the manosphere, what do you think of? Red pill, incel, self-help, gym bros? What do you think of? Whatever you think of, there is one face that prevails throughout it all.
Top G, or you can also call me Trigger Dawn. It's another name I just developed. Trigger Dawn. Because I'm that guy.
Is Andrew Tate. He somehow single-handedly unified them all, and he spoke to all of them. He was extreme, he was rage-baiting, but he often had moments where there was sense.
I watched American Pie the other week, and I thought that would have been the best time to be alive. Like 2003. Like, you can still call the people you care about if it's a real emergency, but no one's glued to their phone.
Yeah.
No one's scrolling social media. No one's trying to take an Instagram picture. Everyone's just at the crappy party, enjoying the crappy party. Like, if you go to Dubai and you look around the bar, half the people aren't having fun. They're just purely trying to get Insta stories to look like they're having fun. So it's pure like, ha 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 ha. Okay, so I think that a lot of people now are doing things not because they enjoy them, because other people will think they're having fun, and it's more about creating envy as opposed to actually enjoying yourself. Right. If you go on a really fun night out, you don't take your phone out. So when I see someone who went on a night out and took 20 stories dancing and laughing and having a great time, I know they're bored.
Yeah, they're not in the moment.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you really have a great night out, you don't take any stories and you forget to check your phone. Social media has completely and utterly changed the world. It's changed the way that we function, it's changed the way that we go out, it's changed even the places we go.
He would say 8 mistruths and 2 truths, and that would unify just enough people. Then he had the looks, he had the charisma to pull it off. He had one single unifying message, and that was the Matrix.
The Matrix.
So what's your Matrix?
No, the Matrix.
Explain it. I don't understand.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
So we're living inside of a simulation, right? We're all slaves on some level. And I have an organization which helps people
achieve the independence from the systems which are designed to constrain us.
See, many people think of the Matrix and think of the movie as a unifying idea of a system that controls people. It's very similar to Skynet in the Terminator, but it's even more popular. And the funny thing and the irony behind the Matrix, and it's important to say this, is that the directors and many academics and even just video commentators online, YouTube commentators online, have discussed that the Matrix was actually an allegory for trans coming out story. It was an allegory for regressive and rigid gender conformity. The irony, it became the rallying call of the Manosphere that has some misogyny behind it. Some of it is also just broken and downtrodden men. But the term itself, the Matrix, has become heavily politicized, and now we live in a heavily politicized world. Andrew Tate was just a symptom of that. He was someone that who saw the land space as fragmented. People felt like they couldn't speak out enough. Andrew Tate spoke out more than enough. He used every trick under the book, whether it's religion, hustle culture, sexism, whatever he could do, he got your attention. He was a good debater. It's a grand shame that he wasn't on the Louis Theroux documentary. It would have been interesting to see someone with his charisma, his debating skills, and his vernacular to come against someone like Louis Theroux, who's very unassuming, gentle, but probing at the same time. The everyman comment about Louis Theroux isn't true. He's not an everyman. He's very famous, let's be fair. But why Trump worked, why Tate worked, why Andrew Tate worked the way he did, is because they spoke to that pain. It's a pain. It's not it's mischaracterized by the media, but it's a pain in men where they feel like society is lagging them behind. Some of you at this point may comment and say, hey, but that's the same with women. Two things can be true, but men at the time, whether it's a fact or not, felt that their voice was not there. The fact that these conversations were happening simultaneously around the feminism explosion shows that it wasn't true. However, they felt that their voice wasn't true. They felt there was an attack on masculinity. It was the first time we had debated in depth patriarchy, misogyny, and masculinity, and toxic masculinity. However, the Therouxs were often framed in places where I don't think often masculinity was painted in its best light. It was just the regressive and dangerous nature of it.
Vilified, and you're taught to think there's something wrong with being masculine. Being masculine is the reason why we don't speak German. Okay, stop.
Exactly. Talk about toxic masculinity. You'll be the poster boy for that shit.
Well, the whole reason why you need male people is because there's male people other places that will take away your shit and kill your people and rape.
Exactly.
This is not a bad thing. Male does not equal evil. Just because there are evil men, they are evil men. Doesn't mean all men are evil. There's evil women too. Doesn't mean all women are evil.
I dated 3 of them.
I bet you dated more than 3. Let's be honest.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But this toxic masculinity is just fucking hilarious,
stupid.
like you said.
And that created a growing distrust of society. And like I said, Andrew Tate was there, but he created the blueprint. He created the formula. And then there came the clones.
How can you call it a movement when you have no motion? You can't call it a movement because you have no motion. None of these niggas have motion except for me.
Oh yeah, just leave, bro. Just get all the girls out of here.
Go, come on.
Fucking hurting brain cells.
All right, come on.
Pull up the Trump interview with Gavin Newsom and shit. We're gonna do some political commentary. Fuck this shit, man. I don't want to talk to these girls. Fucking incredible.
All right.
These fucking retards out of here.
Tired of being invisible to women, tired of getting rejected, and tired of watching other guys who won the genetic lottery take what's yours, then pay attention. I've taken on guys who are skinny, low dimorphism, and completely overlooked by women, and turned them into jacked, high-value men who command respect the second they walk into a room. All my niggas, Nazis,
You could label it the Manosphere industrial complex, the Clone Wars. You have so many different types of aspects of the Manosphere, whether that is rage baiters.
Women can be, well, let's say 3. Women can be mothers, they can be prostitutes, or they can be nuns. That's really it. That's really all you got. But a woman's primary role is to have kids. That's it. People say, you think that women are just baby machines, baby makers? Well, primarily, yes. They're primarily here to be, to have sex.
Whether that is lifestyle guru.
It is a fucking joke to think that any of you guys would go to college really at all with as good as the real world is. Like, I see it every day. I get messages every day. I'm like, I cannot believe this 13-year-old is making more money than his parents.
Political extremists, black pill content. We're gonna start with the rage baiters because you have the Myrons of the world.
Bitch, who the fuck are you talking to?
Your mother is a bitch. Speak for yourself.
You have the Nick Fuentes of the world. You have even Andrew Tate, HS Tiki Toki, who, similar to Andrew Tate, has sort of become the face of it all.
Hey, did you film like that? Were you filming? When we were just fucking pulling things and fucking moving mad, mate. No. Israel committing genocide. You're a puppet. You can't say what you want to say.
You don't want to think about what...
You're a puppet. That's enough said. You're a puppet.
My opinion...
You're a puppet the same way you are for Savile. Puppet, mate.
Are you live streaming?
No, we're filming for a YouTube video.
I think you're live streaming.
The thing is with me, I don't have to edit. I don't do this bullshit editing that you guys do where this wouldn't be in the show. Because I'm real. I'm raw. I'm not a puppet. I'm not controlled. No one's my daddy. Savile's your daddy. The Jew's your daddy. You know it. I don't give a fuck.
In the documentary where Louis Theroux discusses inside the Manosphere, you see Myron I should say, discussing his opinions on not just relationships, but women, fresh and fit, and you can tell quite quickly he's playing a character.
Yeah, she's
Angie, can we say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, we'll keep it short though for her.
Hi. What attracted you to Myron?
I say to my friends and like to people that always question our relationship that Myron is somebody in front of the cameras, but behind them is somebody else with me.
We were talking about in the future that maybe there's a world where you would have more than one wife, right?
She understands that. She knows that could potentially come down in the future.
What do you say about that?
I don't know. I mean, he has said that in the past. I think I'll see when it happens. Like, I don't know how that will work.
Right now, it's not going to be anytime soon because I'm just so focused on working.
And that's many of the people in the Manosphere, specifically the rage baiters. They're playing a character. If Andrew Tate is the heel, the wrestling equivalent to a villain, a person who is supposed to, if you didn't know, I'll break it down quickly, is supposed to elicit negative reactions from the crowd, but Andrew Tate somehow, and villains these days do more to speak to people who have pain that doesn't get spoken about, hence why villain era, go into your villain art, is so called upon in social media. If Andrew Tate is the heel, he's the symptom of this, then people like Myron are the pantomime villains. It's so clear, it's so obvious that they're faking it. It's so obvious because they're doing anything they can for clicks and attention. The HHH Kanye song being, I think, maybe the crescendo moment for them, where it's revealed that they will do anything for clicks and attention, and they will do anything to get your attention or rage, and almost reacting to them with rage is a bad thing. It's playing into their sort of game, really. HS Tiki Toki, like I said, he lives in all that space.
Make me the content.
I'm not making you the content, but someone's saying that you're very good friends with Jimmy Savile. What have you got to say for yourself?
Jimmy Savile. Well, I helped to expose him while he was alive.
They're saying you're friends, and
well, he's dead, so I can't be friends with him.
You used to have a few freak-offs. Anyway,
you have lifestyle gurus. The lifestyle gurus are where it goes from, for me, being harmless but rage baity, something to worry about for the younger generation, when it becomes something quite clear that the victims, the biggest in terms of numeracy of the Manosphere is young men or vulnerable men, because they're selling courses that do nothing. I mentioned this earlier.
Through subscription-based communities like Hustlers University and The Real World, Tate monetizes this worldview by selling, quote, alpha male mentorship, which has been described as just a pyramid scheme that has since attracted hundreds of thousands of members and generated millions of dollars per month at their peak. And from the outside perspective, you might be thinking to yourself, why would somebody buy this? It may seem unbelievable that men would pay for this, but the demand is actually real. Beyond Andrew Tate, there is an entire industry of expensive masculinity boot camps, dating coaches, and self-proclaimed alpha mentors that have emerged in this economy, with some programs charging thousands of dollars for promises of confidence, wealth, and sexual success that are often exaggerated.
I even convinced Theroux to sign up to my group. That was the highlight of the documentary. Theroux put £500 into my group and he flipped that to 13,000 in 6 months of trading with me. And because of that, off the back of that documentary, I'm actually opening up a brand new Louis Theroux inspired trading group. So if you're watching this right now, I'm gonna open up 10 spaces absolutely free of charge for you to copy exactly what Louis Theroux was doing that churned his money from 500 to 13,000. Message me right now, okay?
Obviously, he's probably just rage baiting here like he always does on social media, but Louis Theroux actually downloads it, follows some of the strategy, and he loses money. And it's one of the things after the documentary dropped, he said he's most concerned about.
I wouldn't say I disliked him. Yeah, there's parts of him I liked and there's parts I didn't like.
I think it's interesting. A lot of people won't know how these guys make money.
Well, they get paid by platforms to stream. Sometimes they'll have deals with the platform. Sometimes they get advertising or promotional stuff. The more people they have online at any one time, live streaming. And then they also try and upsell their audience by getting them to subscribe to various products, fitness plans, platforms for trading currency.
That he's sort of quite impressive that he's managed to find a way to make money, right?
How meaningful is it to have a good work ethic if you're just spending hours and hours spewing offensive pickup lines to girls on the beachfront in Marbella?
The problem with this whole day trading thing that has been going on for ages now with various different influencers is the fact it's disingenuous that the platform sometimes provides HS TikTok or whoever is promoting it a commission on every person that signs up. So regardless, they make money, but you're the person actually consuming the product and have to learn about trading and effectively master the market to make money yourself. When just a simple Google search will show you approximately 70% to 90% of retail forex traders lose money and quit, according to broker data, often cited as the failure rate.
That the course that Andrew Tate sells does nothing. CoffeeZilla has done many explorations and investigations into this. These courses do nothing. Justin Waller, he's another one that sells a course. It's hustle culture gone bad. HS TikTok does another thing. He doesn't quite sell a course, but he sells a telegram, he gives you signals. And many of these people are going broke trying to invest in the trading market or crypto or whatever course they're trying to sell. It's a pyramid scheme.
Modern world where people are trying to teach you how to come in and trade actively in stocks. Well, I regard that as roughly equivalent to trying to induce a bunch of young people to start off on heroin. It is really stupid. And when you're already rich, to make your money by encouraging people to get rich by trading. And then there are people on the TV, another wonderful place. And they say, I have this book that will teach you how to make 300% a year. And all you have to do is pay for shipping, and I will mail it to you. How likely is it that a person who had suddenly found a way to make 300% a year would be trying to sell books on the internet to you? And it's ridiculous. And yet I've described modern commerce.
You would think it was obvious, you would think it was blatant, but when you're vulnerable and searching for hope, you will turn to something that you don't fully understand. And these lifestyle gurus, even though they haven't really changed much from any time or period in history, they are appealing and taken advantage of young men the most and vulnerable men the most. And that's where, to me, it becomes quite worrying. And it's important to say that because many people have turned to the lifestyle gurus and the Manosphere for lack of hope. They're searching for something. They're searching for a feeling of belonging. They feel lost in a society that no longer really benefits anyone. But in this case, they don't feel like it benefits men at all. And they're searching for something. And to me, that quote is powerful because that quote illustrates that, listen, there's no golden ticket. No one's selling you a course that's going to change your life. If you want to change or get rid of the position you are in or evolve, it's going to take a lot of difficult, tangible steps, which some of them do shed light to, but I don't think it's often packaged in a way that lets people know that it just takes time to do this, one. And two, it's not sold in a course. And even if it was sold in a course, they're not selling it to you for $49.99. Let's have it right.
Say Hitler is cool, everybody freaks out. He's not cool, he's very fucking a monster. Then I say, hey, let's be honest, Epstein's cool. Like, okay, he's an evil guy, he's a bad guy, but he is cool. And people go, he's very fucking a monster, blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy. You cannot free think. Can a nigga think?
You have the political extremists, again, somewhere where Andrew Tate lives. He's far right, he weaponizes religion, he weaponizes Islam, clearly doesn't have a full conceptual understanding of Islam.
If I had to bet on one religion as if I were betting on the stock market for the future, you have to bet on Islam. Because Muslims are intolerant. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully, because if you're tolerant of everything, then you stand for nothing.
Yeah. Facts.
Christians are so tolerant now. You don't believe it. They have gay pastors that I'm not even anti-gay, but if the book says don't have, like, what do you believe in now? If you're tolerant of everything, you stand for nothing. I can walk through London with a t-shirt saying Jesus is gay and nothing will happen to me. If I did the same thing with the Islamic prophet, I'd be dead before I got to the end of the street.
Boom.
That's how much they believe and respect. And I respect people who stick up for what they believe in.
Which, as a revert, you don't want to be too judgeful of him, because he's a revert. He won't understand everything, but it feels like he's weaponizing it. Sneeko falls into this example. Nick Fuentes is another one. Nick Fuentes, to me, in terms of his political views, are ridiculous. They're unsubstantiated, and he's really famous for being rage baity, one, and two, for saying nigga this, nigga that, nigga that, nigga. It's insane. He just
nigga this, nigga.
Says nigga so much, and as a white guy, it's seen as, oh, he's not afraid.
His messages blend grievance politics with authoritarian social values. He frames feminism, multiculturalism, and liberal democracy as existential threats, while casting himself as a truth teller that's persecuted by elites. Yet his public persona is also riddled with contradictions. As I said, Nick Fuentes claims to represent the forgotten working class of white Americans, despite him also being a minority, and he does this while repeatedly scapegoating minorities and immigrants. He denounces establishment figures while seeking proximity to powerful political and cultural elites. He also criticizes other far-right influencers for opportunism, even as he mirrors their rhetoric and tactics. And in this way, he embodies a central tension of modern extremist politics. It's a performance of rebellion with systems that he simultaneously condemns and also depends upon. It's very weird. Like, you can't be a part of this subculture and also sell Epstein merch. It doesn't work like that.
And I know going through these different characters, these different faces of the Manosphere can feel a bit rushed, but my whole point is to show that Andrew Tate has created clones and different versions of himself, whether it's his political extremism, his lifestyle guru side, hustle culture side, his rage baity side, his anti-women sort of side. It's important to say that he's created many different clones, and he's created a formula that people have been able to replicate. And in that, people have been able to shape their identities, not only behind him, but different versions of the formula that he created. And I say this, and I'll say this again. I've said it before and I'll say it again, sorry. Is that the product isn't masculinity, it isn't toxic masculinity, it isn't even misogyny. The product is vulnerable men, vulnerable young men That is the product. That is the people being exploited. Now, that's not me saying that there aren't people from the manosphere that are not taking advantage of women. They are not spreading dangerous, harming messages towards women. It's not to ignore that and the dangers that are presented towards women. No, it's not to ignore that. It's to say that is true. And also the people who are taking advantage the most by this type of content is young men. And it's a damn shame because a lot of them will see some of these stupid and silly routines and wake up to the reality that it was just a whole lot of hogwash. One of my final points on this particular segment is black pill influencers, black pill content, which is essentially a very nihilistic point of view, a sort of social Darwinistic point of view that if you don't look or come from a certain background or in terms of wealth or look a certain type of way, you're going to never get women. A lot of the manosphere content is pickup artists or people showing you how to get women. This black pill content is harmful and it's dangerous because it also is trying to sell you products that can improve your look. And it's important to say that the biggest face of that is Cavicula, I believe his name is. I'm not going to lie, he's not someone I deep dived. And he's selling a lot of harmful products to young men or men out there. And it will be vulnerable men that feel that they've either had bad breakups, not wanted by women. It will be the incels, but it could be anyone really, anyone just going through a difficult time. And a lot of these drugs do nothing. And when you hear Cavicula's, his routine around the medication that he takes, he just sounds like a drug addict.
What drugs do you take in a day? I'm taking testosterone every single day. I take minoxidil for my hair. I take dutasteride for my hair. I also take Accutane. I take 7.5 milligrams of Accutane a day. I use crystal as a stimulant and Tolene Max, right? It's very suppressant of your appetite. I also will take retatrutide once a week. I take melanotan 2 every single day. I'll take IGF-1 and HGH.
Sorry, I'm just going to call it what it is. Secondly, a lot of those young men can't buy those products, can't afford it. So they're not going to buy it and they're going to fall deeper into that nihilism. Nihilism is, in my opinion, just code for continuous depression because of society. And to avoid the fact that many of these young men are broken, downtrodden, does a disservice to the community and how it grew to where it grew to today.
I'm crying every night. I have no food to eat. But I could do one or two things, either just keep maybe complaining about my position or start thinking solution space. Maybe start changing the perspective, how I see it. Maybe as men we're meant to suffer. We're not meant to be happy. We learn more in our failures than in our wins. And we don't believe in depression also. Really? We don't believe in it. You know, the average person that has everything that they need to exceed in life, yet you're still depressed, yet you're still feeling sorry for yourself. Like, you have all the tools you need. My brother passed away. Well, I had my moments where I was sad, but I tried to turn it into something positive. How did he die? He took his own life. But what I'm saying is, that's in the past.
There was one aspect of the Louis Theroux documentary that really hit me. And it was one of the guys that were following, two of the guys to be honest, who was following Justin Waller around and discussed what brought him to the manosphere. And he said it was traumas, it was people passing in his life. And then he felt that the manosphere, Andrew Tate, saved his life. And that to me is the manosphere. Broken, downtrodden men that have been through a lot and turn and look at society as the problem, as the cause. And yes, they will be right. Does that mean women don't go through things? Absolutely not. Women go through many of the same problems, probably displaying itself differently. But there is sometimes when we're discussing the manosphere and the problems with the manosphere, the lack of conversation that these men have gone through things. Another interesting aspect of that documentary was when Louis discussed the faces of the manosphere. Many of them have difficult relationships with their fathers, almost all of them actually. And many of them have strained relationships with their mothers, HS Tiki Toki being the exception from what I see. Many of them, like I said about Myron, seem to be living a lie and are portraying a pantomime villain character. However, that pain, that anger towards women, although not right or justified, comes from broken homes, fatherless homes or societies that have let them down. And our failure to engage with that has done nothing short of let this conversation down and has allowed these people, when we're discussing the manosphere, to be further radicalized and becoming more and more extremist in their views, where they feel more dogmatic in their opinions, because no one's speaking to their hurt, their pain, or seeing where they're coming from.
What is the Matrix? Good question. I guess some Americans call it the deep state, but I like to look at it in a more global way. When I say the Matrix, I think there are certain agendas which are being pushed. I think the media machine and the judicial systems of the world work together hand in hand. I think the goal is to control people's minds to a point where they don't discuss anything that's important.
Clearly, we're influenced not only by concrete legal structures, but also embedded values and biases. And patriarchal attitudes can show up in our policies in all kinds of ways. Shifting the focus from the tyranny of man to patriarchy made clear that the root of women's oppression ran deeper than just individual men in power.
Perhaps, like I said earlier, the biggest unifying signal behind the manosphere is the Matrix, the system that keeps men down. It's a rigid, oppressive system. To me, and if you understand feminism truly, that's what feminism talks about with the patriarchy. You see, the mainstream media let feminism down completely. Feminism is not a monolith. Feminism has evolved tremendously. However, when the mainstream media take hold of something, it becomes co-opted. It becomes something that really is oversimplified. And that's me being kind. I genuinely believe it's co-opted for their own movements and getting behind people. The system that feminism describes or attacks, patriarchy, is repressive towards men a lot. That's what hypermasculinity was supposed to be getting onto. That was what hypermasculinity was a response to. It was a response to the patriarchy. Feminism is a complex system. It's a study of gender inequality. It's not a study of women's superiority. It's never been that. And when it first was incepted, it was very favorable to a particular race of women. You can imagine who they are. White women.
And in not so breaking news, women don't all experience the world in the same way. Feminist scholar Kimberly Crenshaw spoke to this in 1989 when she described the ways that gender doesn't just operate in isolation. She pointed out that society's perception of race, class, and gender work together to influence women's lives. She called this intersectionality.
It evolved. There was critical race theory that had an aspect of feminism to it. There was postmodernist feminism. There are many different types of feminism, intersectionality of feminism. To not engage with that from the media was so wrong. And it's half the reason why we're in this space. And the reason I bring that up is because the Matrix, the patriarchy, is the same system that people are talking about. And the fact that no one has tried to engage with it, whether that be social commentators online, media, video essayers, shame on you. Shame on you. Honestly, you let yourself down with those arguments. And I'm disappointed in any journalist, anyone talking about this who does not engage in that aspect of the conversation. You're a joke, if I'm being honest, a joke and a clown. So it's important to get that out of the way. The Matrix, the patriarchy, whatever you want to call the system, we're all talking about the same things. And the sooner we try to understand each other through our shared pains and oppressions, the easier these conversations will happen and the culture wars will soon come to an end. I know using the term culture wars in the backdrop of what's going on in Iran and the UAE and in the Middle East can seem a little bit trivial, but this culture war is very real, at least online.
I'm done. Cut the show. I'm done. Take me off.
It's to do with loss of father figures, social invisibility, economic loss, economic progression and stagnation. And without really dealing with that, we don't really help or improve this conversation. Like I said, there's loss of trust in institutions. And there's been a failure, in my opinion, to really debate and get into those conversations in its entirety. And like I said, the failure to debate that, the failure to do that is pushing people to more radical views. And the truth of the matter is that many people, whether they're on the left or the right, or even they're making points that people agree with, the failure of that, to debate with that and to bring that into the conversation, whether that's through Louis Theroux's documentary or just video essays online, the failure to bring up that this is lost men shows to me that people are trying to be right in the conversation instead of trying to build a bridge and leave the culture wars behind. And the reason why a lot of people don't want to leave the culture wars behind is because it's algorithmically rewarded. That's why people don't want to leave the culture war behind, because it rewards them financially, whether that's the media, whether that's influencers and content creators online, or the systems that social media platforms that promote those influencers. We have to really talk about the real system behind this, really. And finally, my final point is the Manosphere did not become what it was because men became extremists. The Manosphere became what it was because men feel lonely, invisible, and economically repressed. And without a true answer, without a true face, they turn to people, or in the case of Andrew Tate, a person that pretended to have the answer. That's how false idols are created. And without looking at the ecosystem, the economic climate, the context in which it was built in, we will just continuously have these conversations till time has no end. But this has gone on long enough. Put into the comments what you think was covered in this episode. Did I cover enough of did I cover enough of the Manosphere and where they're coming from? Did I do women a disservice without speaking about their issues? Because like I said, we all share the same social anxiety, just in different ways. Anyway, what's this underneath my nose? I'm out.
Or your hairline's fucked, you need to go to Turkey. Shout MLS, you always looking certain. I was on the pitch scoring goals, Van Persie. You was in the cell, always getting herpes. I know you're vexed that I can leave the country. Fake RM, bet your boy it off a gum tree. I'ma leave you looking very clumsy. Knock you off your feet, you'll be doing Humpty Dumpty. It's funny